Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you back to the Eye of the Storm. This is another discussion with friends. This one is about your job. You guys know my story about how I started at Verizon, took that salary, and ended up walking away from my job. I met this gentleman. He told me his story about his job, what happened, and how it propelled him to where he's at. This is something you guys need to hear. This isn't just for motivational purposes. This is a blueprint, a roadmap, and showing you how life is all about being this grandiose movie, and we just literally playing a part. And he didn't take his downfalls or the things that happened, which was some hell of a things. I'm talking jaw-dropping things, guys. So listen, stick around for this. And I'm going to let him introduce himself and tell you about what he did, where it's at. So ladies and gentlemen, I want my guy right here. Introduce yourself. The floor is all yours, Eric.
What's going on, people? Thank you for having me in the Eye of the Storm. I appreciate you, brother. And my name is Eric D. Grimes. I'm a New York City resident, hail from Queensbridge houses. And along the way, I found myself in a place called the NYPD and rose to the rank of detective. And,
all right, hold on. Let's catch that part. NYPD. Those of you who are not here, a lot of people know a New York City Police Department, but some don't. This gentleman here used to be a police officer, rose his way up to detective, but it's in between that where the story gets deep. I had to stop him because I felt like he was getting ready to shoot past when he started, why he started, how he ended up at the NYPD. Let's go there.
We got to take it back to, say, like 2002. I'm at John Jay College for Criminal Justice. At that time, I was going for forensic science. And then throughout my time there, I realized I wasn't that good in science. So I changed my major to criminal justice. And I was taking a African-American experience class. And I was in class with a guy named John. And John was a correction officer. He had 2 houses, 2 cars. He was a really fly guy. The chicks in class loved him. He was an older guy. And I loved the way he carried himself. And at this time, this was around the time of 9/11. So the police department was hemorrhaging because a lot of loss of cops and firemen, et cetera. And then in addition to that, a lot of people did so much overtime, they were retiring. So John said, listen, Eric, I don't know if you heard it or not, man, but the NYPD, man, they got the exam. They taking everybody. They even looking past certain things. Won't you give it a shot? And I said, you know what, John? I said, I'm not trying to get shot, man. But I totally dismissed it. So he looks at me. He goes, Eric, listen, man, you're a smart kid. And at this time, I'm 21 years old.
Wow. He
said, you're a smart kid. He said, I think you're really street smart. You're intelligent. He said, I think it's be worth trying, man. And I think you should do it. So that night, I'm at work. And where I used to work, I worked at a call center. I worked for Time Warner Cable before the merger. I remember when the merger took place. I was there for it. So when AOL and the cable merged, and I worked at a call center. I worked 10 at night to 7 in the morning. And I went there and I took a good look at my surroundings that night. And I took a good look. And what I saw was 30-something-year-olds, 40-year-olds that were miserable. And they would come to work and it was just coming to work. And I was just like, nah, this ain't going to be me, man. So I'm going to age myself here. Back in the day when you had to study for a city exam, you had to go to Barnes and Nobles to get the Barron's book. So you remember that, Storm. You had to go to get Barron's, right? You wasn't signed up online. No, you had to actually had to mail in my money order, all that other stuff to DCAS back in the day. You had to do all the manual stuff. So I went to Barnes and Nobles and I bought that book. And what I used to do was I used to hide it under the Time Warner Cable literature because I had a manager that was constantly always looking to see what I was doing. In between that, I'm studying and I knocked it out the park. I scored a 94 on the exam. Next thing, I'm getting a letter in the mail basically saying that, hey, congratulations, you're about to go through the process. So now once I went through the process, you go through this arduous process, and then I get to the academy now. And the academy back in 2004. And any police academy is pretty much a mental breakdown, physically and mentally. And why is that? It's because they have to condition you for a whole new role. At this particular time, I'm 22 years old. So everything is new. I'm around older people. People are screaming in your face, yelling at you. But then it brought some form of discipline throughout the whole process. And then by month 3, you realize that not just psychologically you change, your body starts changing. You start talking a little bit differently. And the reason why is because you have to take on the lexicon of how cops speak. It's a whole
That's
nother
what I wanted
language.
to ask you. That's what I wanted to ask you. 'Cause I noticed that too. Several people I know that became police officers, it's like they got robotic. Like they really became robotic, and the lexicon of the way they talk, in my opinion, it sounds like I was hearing the same words coming from the same officer saying the same thing. And I felt like there was this chip that they would put in you guys and erase everything you knew about your area, how you grew up, how you talk, how you hung out, everything. And it's here, put this chip in you, and we're going to give you the hoodie to match. And were you accepting to it? Did you realize you were starting to separate yourself by actions and language, and that meant separating yourself from people you knew?
Yes, it did. And it forcefully did. And the reason why is because I couldn't hang out with felons. And a couple of my friends were felons. So that drew a major line in the sand. And that wasn't easy to overcome. You got to remember, I'm 22 years old. I had no other friends besides the people that I knew and grew up with. Right. So that was a very arduous time. Most people say they can't wait to go. They wish they could go back to 22. I don't want to repeat it again. It was hard enough because I had to break away from a lot of people that I loved. And the only reason, and I had to be here. When you're taking on the language, what happens is that when you're around something every day, there's a reason why people join gangs. They bring you in, they love on you, they encourage you, they build you up. And what do you start doing? You start taking on the mannerisms. You start speaking the slang. You start doing the handshakes. It's nothing different. You're part of the organization, a paramilitary unit. You share a certain time and experience with people that most people don't. I didn't do average office work. When I went to work, I can die. That's a fact. I can get shot. That's a fact. And it wasn't a matter of if, it was always a matter of when for us. When you're taking on all of those behaviors, in addition, you're going through those experiences, you can't help but change. And much as you try to hold on to whatever you're trying to hold on to, you're going to change some shape, form, or fashion. Now, as I got older, I moved more towards the center, obviously, because then I rounded out as a person, different experience, etc. But in the beginning, no, you're going to get, you have to jump all in. You can't have one foot in and one foot out. Either you're in or you're out. Yeah. And I came across brothers that had that mental schism and they wound up getting fired. And the reason why is because they were trying to show people that they were still down. I let that go. I had to let that go. No, I am down. I'm just doing the best that I can do for me. I didn't have a wicked jump shot. I became a cop, man.
At what point this thing, because I want to get people straight into the meat of that conversation, what happened? At what year, how long your officer before this life-changing thing happened to you? Give people that, how many years you were a cop, when did it happen? Give us a visual of that day on what happened.
So July 14, 2009, at this time, I'm 4.5 years in service. In addition to that, I'm in OCCB. OCCB is the Organized Crime Control Bureau. And I worked in the division narcotics. So I was in Brooklyn South narcotics. Now, for those that watch The Wire and other movies, and I was the guy knocking your door down 4 o'clock in the morning. I was an investigator. I sent undercovers to places to buy drugs for me. That's what I was doing. Now, at that time, that particular day, my partner and I were the P van. And the P van is the prisoner van. And this is when we do buying bus sets. And we get a phone call to come to Avenue U and East 34th Street. Now, anybody knows Brooklyn, Avenue U and East 34th Street is probably one of the nicest spots in Brooklyn. It's Marine Park. Very nice. You got $1 million homes there, very quiet, but they had some drug activity. My team caught somebody. We come over there with the van. We put the prisoner in the van, and we're just having a conversation now on the sidewalk. What I heard was a loud bang behind me. And when my partner looked, he yells out car. And the only thing that I could do at that time was jump. And when I did jump, I felt some impact hit the lower part of my left leg. I'm telling myself in my mind, oh man, I just broke my leg. I'm out for the summer. That's how I negotiated all this within a matter of seconds. I'm literally laying on the grass in somebody's front lawn at this time. And then I looked at my partner, Ryan, and he had this face on, like he saw a ghost of some type. I'll never forget this. And then he whispered, "Don't look down." And then at that point, what do? You look down, right?
So was there an accident of two cars hitting and one came your way? That's what happened.
Yeah, so it was a
Turn to it, right? That's
two-car accident. What happened was the female, when they impacted, when she veered off, instead of her hitting the brake, she hit the gas. I actually heard it. I heard it because she got nervous. And that's exactly what happened. And it ran right into me. And the doctor, which we'll get into a little bit later, I'll tell you the conversation that the doctor and I had as far as what could have happened if I didn't do what I'd done. Right. But that was the crux of the accident. It had nothing to do with what we were doing whatsoever. It wasn't an ambush. It wasn't as sensational as people would think. It was just a freak accident. And I was actually in the wrong place at the wrong time.
So let's go straight into that.
So at this time, I'm looking straight down. And now what I'm seeing is my foot, skin was gone, toes were hanging, bone protruding through my skin. It almost looked at something like a horror flick. It didn't look real to me. And at this time, your heart starts pumping. But at the same time, I'm also conscious that I'm bleeding and that I could bleed out. This is when the training kicks in. And you always hear that in the academy. You hear that in training. Your training is going to kick in. No, they're not lying to you. The training kicked in. What I started doing was breathing exercises. And I actually got them from a Navy SEAL for YouTube. When he said he was under heavy duress in combat. And I started doing these breathing exercises. But then my partner, Jimmy, who I mean, the only reason why you and I are having this conversation now, he took his belt off and he did a tourniquet on my leg. And that pulled me all the way through. Because of the quick acting of my team and then them calling the ambulance, but the ambulance was taking their time. Now a cop car came onto the scene. They threw me in the back of the cop car. I'm sitting between my partner's legs, and we're on our way to Kings County Hospital. Now I want to paint the picture for the audience here. As far as Brooklyn, you have Brooklyn North and Brooklyn South. We're talking about Avenue and East 34th Street all the way to Kings County Hospital. That's pretty much going from the deep south going towards the north during 2:30, 2:45 in the afternoon in the summertime in July. Yes. So traffic, everything had to get shut down. At that time, what they do was called a mobilization. They shut traffic down. They open up the roadways so I can get through. As I'm sitting in the car talking to my partner, he's telling me to stay up. And the only thing I could think of at that time was, what the hell am I going to do now? And actually, it was a more profanity word, but I don't want to curse on the show. And he's saying, Eric, don't worry about that, man. And my foot's literally hanging off of my body. The only thing I'm thinking about is that I lost my job. I'm not going to get promoted. What this 27-year-old is going to do now? And when I got to the hospital, they rushed me in. They cut you. They take off. They ripped my vest off. My gun was lost on the scene. That's how hard I got hit. It came out of my retention holster. And the doctor and I are about to have this conversation that just changed everything for me. So he takes a metal instrument and he actually rubs it up and down what was left of my foot. And he's poking at it. And he's saying, Eric, can you feel it? And I'm lying to him at this point. I said, Doc, I can feel it. And he goes, Eric, can you feel it? I said, Doc, I can feel it. He said, Eric, you can't feel a thing. He said, Eric, what's happened to you? He said, your foot is degloved, meaning that skin is off, everything is exposed. He says you have massive damage to your toes. He says you're 27 years old. You have a lot of living to do, but the best thing to do would be to amputate your foot. And at that point in time, that week, I was supposed to work from Tuesday to Friday and start my vacation. I had a boat ride to go through that Saturday. I was dating a nurse at the time who I was supposed to go there with. It's almost like a life flashes before your eyes. And at that time, I'm a young man. I had no children. So I'm just thinking about my social life, my career. It all just flashed right before my eyes. And then the doctor asked me, he says, hey, do you want to call someone? You want to call your parents? You want to talk to someone about this? And originally I said, yeah, I would. And then I looked at the doctor again. I said, Doc, is that bad, right? And he said, yeah, Eric, it is. It's just that bad, man. I said, do what you need to do. And at that point, I just laid back and went to sleep. And probably, I think 9 hours later, I wake up and my lower left extremity is completely off.
No foot, no nothing. Down to the knee. Where did they take it from? The knee?
So,
calf.
I'm a below the knee amputee. I'm a BK, meaning it's below the knee. I have a functional knee. That's why when you saw me, you look at me and I told you, hey, I'm an amputee. You like, because it doesn't register because of my gait and how I walk. But yeah, but that's my advantage. You have above the knee people who lose their whole leg. They call AKs. I'm a BK. They're an AK. They have a little bit more of a limp. It's like more like a sorority, right? The AKs and the BKs, right? But that's just what I was classified. So now I go from a young police officer who had 9 more months to get promoted to detective to now I'm classified as handicapped within a 24-hour cycle. At that time, my career looked like it was over. And the reason why is because of this catastrophic accident. I lost a lower left extremity. You have to be an able body, in my mind, at that time, that in order to be a police officer. But to my surprise, I had 3 police officers who were below the knee amputees that visited me, that were on the job. Never knew that. Never knew it.
Wow.
In addition, I want to be clear as well, is that I didn't get promoted because I got hurt. So when you get into a unit like OCCB or the Detective Bureau, Special Victims, etc., what happens is that you have to do the work for 18 months and you have to show proficiency. Once you do that, then you can get promoted. What happened was I got hurt halfway through my track,
Right.
but I already fulfilled my requirements already. I had a number of search warrants. I made a number of arrests, etc. So all I had to do was just get in there, do my thing, and I was getting promoted. What I thought while I was laying in the bed at that time was like, man, this is over, man. I'm gonna have to retire 3/4, which is a disability pension, which is not bad, but I wasn't ready to go. And
27,
I was
right?
really nervous about that. I was 27 years old. I didn't have a lot of time on at that time, 4.5 years on at that time. So it was definitely a paradigm shift for me. But then something else happened. I got this abundance of support. So much so to where I felt that it was probably one of the biggest interviews of my life. And I want to break this down for people because a lot of people think that an interview is you go into a job. No, sometimes it's just a crisis that's happening and people just want to see how you react to it. And I understood that, So when I had Commissioner Kelly at that time, you had Chief Esposito, God bless his soul, who just died last year. These people came to visit me to the hospital. They were taking my temperature. They wanted to see how I reacted. They wanted to see how I was spoken. And they ran what's called a round robin on me. They know everything about you. They know how many calls you got. They know if you was good, you was bad. And in addition to that, they rallied around me because of my positive attitude. And so much so to where it was told to me, hey, listen, take as much time you need off. Go home, sit with the family, think about this, but we want you to come back. And
So here's something I think we're leaving out when we had this discussion when we first met. What was the mindset they thought you would have?
Yeah. So originally, it wasn't when people see that you're in a bad state of mind or a bad state, they think the worst because they're putting themselves onto you, what they would do.
There you go.
And it was told through me through the grapevine that they thought I was going to kill myself. Now, I had a detective stand outside my hospital door for a variety of different reasons, and I locked a lot of people up. And I was on TV. My face is plastered, obviously for protection reasons, right? Particularly for the type of work that I was doing. But for them, they thought I was faking it. And because I was so optimistic.
They thought you were fake being okay.
And I can see the rationale to that. Because in our profession, cops do kill themselves. My first precinct, August of 2004, a police officer killed himself in our locker room. It was my first week on the job. So this is not uncommon at all. I wasn't even swayed by it because this is the culture. You can eat your gun. Even though I didn't have any weapons next to me.
You can do what?
Eat your gun. That's the terminology. That's the terminology. So the difference was that I didn't have any weapons next to me, but I have access. And so they were concerned with that. But then as time went on, they realized, this guy's not faking it. This is just who he is. And they soon rallied around that. And in addition to that, that opened up so many other doors for me, more than I ever could even imagine at that time, because the power of having a positive attitude.
Wow.
In addition to that, I've remained professional at all times. I remain respectful at all times. I was conscious of what I was saying, how I was saying it. And I felt that I say, no, this is the audition. This is it. You don't get one shot at something like this where everybody wants to talk to you. People want to check in. They want to know, which is very rare. You have the people at the top that are taking a liking to you. And I said, this is going to be for a short time. And at 27 years old, I understood that. And
So
I said, I'm going to make the most out of this.
I really want to lock in on that. So you realize, wait a minute, my career is not over. I have some people who are coming to see me, to talk to me, because I'm actually being interviewed right now. They're going, if this man could push through his short time of being on the force, he comes out on the other side, he's made out for what we have for him. And it's you seeing the opportunity at hand and realizing that this job that I took has value. I'm going to get everything out of it and maximize a terrible situation and turn it into something. So now your antennas are up and going, okay, yeah, let me take this ride and go be that great thing. So let's talk about you transitioning now, becoming a detective. Now you realizing that, like, when you finally was given that position, how did you take full advantage of it? And when did you know you had maximized it and it was time to go, you know what? Now it's time for me to transition out of this and become the person who you are now, which is another story within itself on how we met. But yeah, let's go down that road for the people.
I have to take you to the promotion because that's where it started at. So I always tell the Kelly story, and it went like this. When I got promoted, you walk across the stage, which was a big deal for me that day. I walked across the stage. So when I walked across the stage, the place erupted. I felt so bad for the guy behind me. And I'd never forget when he sat down next to me, I hit his lap. I said, bro, and I whispered in his ear, I said, brother, I'm so sorry, man. He said, Eric, man, I came behind you. I'm cool, bro. And we started laughing. We gave each other a pound, and that was that. But then after this, I get a letter from some mystical figure. He says, open the letter. I'll open it up. I read it. He goes, do you approve? I go, yeah. He goes, congratulations, detective. And he just walked away from me. Storm, if he walks in my house right now, I can't even tell you how you look. So they go, Eric, listen, the commissioner wants to see you on the 14th floor. Bring your family. And now, anybody that been in One Police Plaza is it's a really nice building. And the 14th floor is like majestic. It has this old police desk there from the early 1900s. Like the blotter is beautiful. Kelly office is overlooking the Brooklyn Bridge, the East River. And we're on one side of his office. My family's on the other side taking pictures. And he puts his hands on my shoulder. And he goes, hey, Eric, congratulations. He said, how you feel? I said, sir, I feel strong. I gave him like one of those military responses, right? He's a military man. He appreciates stuff like that. So he's laughing. He goes, hey, man, is there anything that I can do for you? And I looked and I said, you know what, sir? There's a unit that I wanted to go to called Taru. And that's what I want to do. He goes, everybody wants to go there. So I heard it's the place to be. He starts laughing. He goes, can you give me a best out of 3? I said, absolutely not. Now, I just told the New York City Police Commissioner of the biggest police department in the world, no, I'm not giving you my best of 3. And he got a real kick out of that. And he goes, okay, Eric, I need to know why. I said, sir, with all due respect. I said, I have been turned down for the warrants, vice, detective squad. I went down all this list of units that I wanted to work for that I interviewed for, and they wouldn't take me. And it wasn't because I was incompetent. It was because in the NYPD, like anywhere else, you need to know someone as well, right? You just can't just be good, but you also have to know someone. And I said, sir, I understand the culture. And I said, I went to narcotics because they're the only people that would take me. And I wanted to be a detective that bad. And he couldn't get over that. He goes, I think you got it right this time. And by the time I walked out that door, my career changed. Everything changed. Now I'm in the top 3 unit in the NYPD, the Technical Assistance Response Unit, one of the most highly recognized units in law enforcement. So here I am, I'm at this place. It's like this, it looks like a country club. And I'm like, I'm a long way from narcotics now, wearing a hoodie, wearing North Face jackets, hanging out in project hallways, smoking Black and Mounds.
The Costco's dad jeans.
Yeah. I was cooler than that, brother. I was cooler. My colleagues want stuff like that. But so now I'm in this place where I'm treated like a gentleman. I'm treated like a professional. And I never forget, I had a conversation with the commanding officer at the time, and he invited me upstairs, and he had my whole file, like my whole career on his desk, man. And he goes, tell me something about yourself. And I looked at the paper. I said, it seemed like it's all there. And we started laughing. He goes, no, I want to hear from you. I said, sir, I'm just happy to be here.
So I want to talk about the job. Go ahead. Finish that last line you were going to say. He said,
yeah. So I said, sir, I'm just happy to be here. And he says, listen, he says, we give you a lot of rope here to hang yourself. He said, Eric, do you understand you have complete autonomy of the city of New York? That means that you could be anywhere in the city of New York. He said, I may not know about it. He says, keep it short. He said, keep it clean. He said, and enjoy. He said, you can leave. I got
inside the task force you wanted to.
I got inside which changed a lot for me.
So this is what I want. This is what I want to grab a hold, because it's all about a job and changing your life and having that job and realizing this job is a pit stop to where I want to be. Like, did you think you would be at this job till you 40, 50, 60 doing this thing, and this accident made that shorter for you to become a detective and now get out and do the things which you're doing now, which I want to get into that? Or did you think if this didn't happen, you would have still been a police officer or some kind of form of until your 40s, 50s, 60s, like you're here for a long time?
So you have to look at it this way too, Storm. So right now, last year, January 20th was my 20th anniversary. So I look like this. So if I stayed, I would have did my 20. I've been 42 years old, and I would have been out. Now, the difference with the accident is that instead of me retiring at 42, I retired at 33.
Big difference, all right?
Now, this is where it gets interesting, right? Now, when you tell somebody that you're retired at 33 years old, most people can't comprehend that. Now, when a military person says, hey, I'm retired from the military, that can mean a different things. That can mean that they have 4-year service, 5, 6-year, 8-year deployment. But when you say a cop, I'm a retired detective, and then I look young, no. For a lot of people thought I was lying. I even had imposter syndrome. But the fact of the matter is that most people, their ideas of a retired detective is usually, I gotta look like Columbo, or I gotta look like some other person. You gotta be old. And no, it's not. That's not the case at all. And what the accident did was it sped up my life by 10 years. Because what I started doing was I started reading a plethora of different books. I started working on my diction because I was invited to speak at places. So I wanted to be a better speaker. My close friend of mine, he was a professor at Queensborough College, where I gave my first lecture, fidgeting and all. And he says, I wanted you to go through the emotions of this because I think people need to hear what you have to say. Now I could go on stage and I'm much more polished than I was before. And it just took me somewhere else. And I've always felt that if the accident didn't happen, it would have took me 10 years to get what I got.
So
big time.
How I want to piggyback off of that was, it was the same with me. Like working at Verizon, being in that truck, I had a lot of time to myself. A lot of people see Verizon workers all the time. So they either they see us in the truck or they see us in a manhole. But when they see us in the truck, they think we don't really do that much work. And I tell people, no, when you don't see us in this truck, we're in these manholes and climbing up all these telephone poles are doing this work. We call that blood money because our office is outside. When it's cold, you guys get up, you get dressed to go to work, you take your car, you take the train, then you go in the office and take your coat. I tell people, no, when I get up, get dressed, go to work, I'm in my car, I get into another cold truck, I'm outside. My office is the outside. So I had to maximize that time, learning about real estate, learning about out of state, learning about finances, learning about hard money, continuously saying to myself, I want to input the data in me to change my life because I know for me, this isn't where I want to end up. I started seeing a bigger road for myself. And when I realized the job wanted me to be there till 2027, I said, how can I cut that time shorter? And this information that I was applying to myself was making that time shorter. You started maximizing your time by gaining knowledge. Always seek knowledge, like getting that information, preparing yourself for the next phase of life. And for me, not enough people prepare themselves for the next phase of life. Their identity is their job. And it drives me insane, especially when I go out and we're at functions, I'm hanging out with people and they say, hey, what you do? Why do people feel like that is literally attached to you as that's going to tell me what kind of person you are. That's going to tell me who you are. I never liked that, because if someone said, I don't have a job, you're going to look at them as a slacker. You don't have a job. What is it?
Well, which one?
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's a big problem. So now that you got all this information, you were going to go into speaking, you wanted to get this knowledge, you were maximizing that time off. When did you start saying, okay, I see the exit?
It came in phases, Storm. So what happened was I actually started buying real estate. I went out of state. That was like the first phase. And a friend of ours we have in common came with me. Gabe came with me. And we went down to Memphis. And that's why I went and bought my first piece of real estate. I had my first rental property. That was like the opening. And I said, if I can do this, then I can stretch out a little bit more. And then that's when the wheels started turning. I started reading books on entrepreneurship, Richest Man Babylon, that type of stuff. I think that's the kit, right? The Robert Kiyosaki. I got all those. That's the kit.
Richest Man of Babylon.
The Millionaire Mindset by Dr. Stanley. That's the kit, right? So we all have that kit. I'm here. I'm delving deep. And then at this time, I'm getting enlightened. But then also, because I covered the city of New York, I got to go to different places and deal with different people and talk to different people. So I'm starting to see different things. But then my daughter comes. And then it changes some of the dynamics for me. And in addition to that, I wasn't sure as far as if I wanted to gamble anymore. And I'm like, man, I almost lost my edge for a second. I always had the edge. And I'm like, but my daughter pulled me on that. And I'm like, even though I was in a good place, I had a good gig. But I was just like, I'm through with it now. And I was also, the place was changing. And most importantly, I've changed. The way I looked at police work changed. The way I looked at my life changed at that time. It was a number of things that were happening simultaneously that pushed me out. And it wasn't because I hated the job. I think when people leave something to go to the next thing, it doesn't have to be with this, I hate this or motherfucker. I can't even say that to you. I can't say that with a straight face. The NYPD was good to me, but I was also good to it. And in addition to that, I was rewarded for that. And also I did the math. And let's talk numbers here. And I say this because I think for a lot of people, they make these emotional decisions. This wasn't emotional by the stretch of the imagination. I did the math. I worked a lot of overtime. I bust my ass. But at the same time, though, I took a beating, though. My leg took a beating. So I would have to go out once a year, anywhere up for 2 or 3 weeks at a time, because I did what everybody else was doing. I worked Occupy Wall Street from the beginning to the end. I did it for 2 years. I walked 70, 80 blocks a clip, that type of stuff, to the point where I was forced to take a car. They said, Eric, get your behind in the car, man. You don't have to walk anymore. That type of stuff. So all that stuff caught up to me. And I could not do what I normally could do. And I knew there was some times where I probably needed to sit down or get some breaks. And I was pushing myself because I'm young, I'm hungry, and that's always been my thing. And then I had to reevaluate that. And I said, you know what? It's not about the bronze, but it's more about this. And how can I make money cerebrally instead of using my hands? And that's when I started making some shifts as far as investing and doing those other type of things.
What are those things? Let's talk about the Eric now, once he left the job now.
So the Eric that you're seeing now is a 10-year buildup. And I say that because as of last Friday, February 28th, makes my 10th year retired. I feel that is just I'm getting paid for a decision that I made 21 years ago. And Warren Buffett said, listen, he said, you're going to make a lot of decisions in your life, but all you have to do is make 12 good ones. I always felt that was one decision that I made that was really good. That was one of my 12. Right?
Working a job.
Working that particular job. And I mentioned this to you before. Most people say, hey, music saved my life. Basketball saved my life. The art saved my life. I said, no, law enforcement saved mine. What it did was it took a young man out of Queens Rich houses, the 41st side of 10th Street, also known as the Dime, and 6 blocks, 96 buildings during the crack epidemic, the 90s. I grew up in the 90s. I had every avenue to do the opposite of what I'm doing. And I pinch myself being in the circles that I am in now. And what I did spawning off, leaving NYPD, is that I had a skill set. I dealt with video evidence. And because of that, I had value to attorneys, unbeknownst to me. And one of my lodge brothers, he said, hey, Eric, I have this case. He's a civil rights attorney. He said, I have this case where a guy got hit by a car. He was on his motorcycle and I can't get the video. And I said, I can get it. And he was like, you can? I said, yeah, I can. I said, I have the equipment. Let me know where to go. They give me the okay, I'll go and do it for you. And when I did it for him, and he looked at me, he says, I don't think how valuable this is. And from that point on, that was my first business partner. And his name's Carmen Giordano, and awesome guy. And he took me under his wing, and we started a company called Video Extraction Inc. And Video Extraction Inc. was a service that we gave to attorneys who needed to procure video evidence. And the issue that these attorneys were having was that they didn't have the investigators that they had, they didn't know tech. So they was like, no, we need a specialist. And I specialized in that. And I was able to get the video for them.
Let's talk about where our common bond came in at with our group of guys and stuff and our introductory. What I like to talk to people about who know that I've been in the real estate since 1999, buying my first piece of property. And now I feel like the real estate market, which not biting my tongue at all, is no longer a wealth builder for low income or minority peoples. You can't go buy a bunch of single family homes or duplexes like I once did and build yourself wealth. You're just not. You're priced out. It's unaffordable. The big corporations plan on being the dominant force and the leaders of the landlord market. And the average everyday person will end up becoming, if not them, their children or their grandchild will be a forever renter. So you need to figure out other ways and learn these other tools to build wealth. And those other ways is technology. It is digital currency. It is learning those things. So we got together through some mutual friends of ours due to understanding that we're in a new horizon of the world. We're in a new frontier, and that's the digital space. So tell us a little bit about your thing and your passion about it. Because when we first met, you spoke about, I looked and said, "Yo, don't ever lose that fire. Don't waste that on people who don't get it." Because I've seen it before and I see it, people burn out. And I know that I had to reignite my fire from speaking to a lot of people and realizing when people just want to hear you talk, but they don't want to take any action. Yeah. So give us that side of when you say, I want to get into this thing, and this is going to be that where you wanted to grab a hold of and learn as much as you can.
So a mutual friend of ours, my friend Gabe, I was at a crossroad in my career at the time, I would say around 2020, 2021. And he said, Eric, would you want to learn how to trade? And I hated the stock market. I always thought it was a scam. I thought real estate, I thought really, and literally, I just thought it was a scam. And that's because of lack of understanding, right? And
that's the magic trickery they do to us.
Oh, big time.
Thinking something's a scam, a gamble, while they're making millions on Wall Street, doing the legitimate legal thing that runs the world now. And Wall Street has created more millionaires than real estate. And I'll say it over and over again. Just because somebody bought a house don't mean they're worth the value of the house. They have a mortgage. The bank owns it. They have to make payments. But we see the asset is going, oh, you rich. You own $1 million house. Yeah, with $800,000 mortgage on the back end, it's still in the equity. It might only be $20,000. And Wall Street, millionaires. But yeah, go into it there.
I hated it. It was a scam. I thought it was a scam. Gabe's always been into it. And I'm like, you know what? At that time, I was doing a hard reset. And I said, you know what? I got the time. I'm going to learn. And originally, my friend would trade my account for me. 20% was the number, right? Which was nothing, right? And then one day he looked at me and said, I don't need your money. I said, I know you don't, but you're doing something for me. He goes, no, it stops. He says, April, I'm giving you back your account. You're going to learn or you don't. It's up to you. And I went home. I said, you know what, man, I cracked open my composition notebooks. I said, because now I'm like, I got to learn. And what it forced me to do was to dive in a deep world of options trading. And in the beginning, it was rough. And how you pay in trading, you lose. You pay with money. That's the price of admission, right?
You didn't want to do paper trading. You went straight to your money.
Oh no, because and I'm gonna tell you the reason why. Paper trading and putting money on the line are two different feelings. Paper trade, you could go, okay, I'm doing nah. When you hit that mouse button, and it's a cling, when they hit that money sign, it does something to you.
With
Your
me,
boy
so
Gage.
I agree to a point now.
They
I
recommend, yes.
started with my money,
Mhm.
and I just wasn't doing any training with anybody. I was watching some videos before I really seek mentorship and start. I have mentors now teaching me trading. So I ended up losing 2,000, right? I said, no, I'm not going to do that. So once I got me some mentors of people who I know, and I just didn't want to come to them until I really figured out this is what I wanted to put my time into. Once I start putting my time into it, it's like it was Charles Schwab paper trading bet. And then I traded paper, but I understood they gave me 3 mental class trainings on mindset first to understand what you're doing. Even though it's paper, it's the mindset that you can carry over that will help ease the feeling of when you click in that button and that money, like you risking money, because it's the feeling what messes you up and push you out
It
your
does.
trade. So once I mastered, no matter what I'm clicking, no matter how many contracts is my mindset, now I could bet 10,000 or I could do 50,000 in trades. It's the same feeling and options. But continue on. So how'd you get into it?
So then I never forget that one November, it was like my eureka moment. And I was laughed at by my 2 trading partners. They said, Eric, we thought you got it already. I said, I got it. It clicked. And it just something just clicked for me. And then after that, because I love to do background research, I love to know what's going on in the background of things. I'm an investigator by trade. So I started doing the deep diving as far as the psychology of trading. And the next thing, I get introduced to the world of crypto. And that just took on a whole nother form. And when I got into crypto, first, I was a little hesitant. Is this thing real?
Damn.
But then what I noticed was that unlike trading, when I got into crypto, I was better prepared because I had a foundation. I didn't have a full understanding, but I had a foundation of it. And then you hear about the Ethereums. Then you hear about the chain links. When I really started doing the research on Bitcoin, listening to people like Michael Saylor, and when I heard one of his presentations, I was like, oh, no, this is like something else. And what I don't think people realize as of right now, what we're witnessing is the changing of the financial system as we know it. What people don't realize as of right now, we're looking at what is called the new Bretton Woods Agreement, where you're going to have the arms race as far as who can buy the most Bitcoin and who's going to be able to control the supply of it. Donald Trump just announced the other day about the crypto strategic reserve. Major deal. And why is that? Because now what you're going to have is called game theory. And game theory is going to happen amongst other countries. So what's going to happen to the price of an asset that is only 21 million Bitcoins are going to be mined, and that is not going to be any more mined after that? You're going to have a supply crunch, and then you're going to have a price that's going to go up. We're looking arguably at probably one of, and I'm going to clarify it, one of the greatest wealth transfers for those that are prepared for it. And what I'm seeing is that a lot of people need permission to get into this thing. So now when I was doing it 4 years ago, I placed my first Bitcoin trade 4 years ago. It's a very small community. And I had to go online to galvanize and talk to other people about this outside of a couple of friends in the real world. Other than that, my everyday friends now, they're not into Bitcoin. They don't even think it's real. They have no concept about what's really about to take place. And for a lot of folks, they feel, oh, we're always late to something. No, it's not the fact that we're late to something. It's the fact that you're not interested. And you're not interested is because you told yourself those same old tropes that I told myself. It's a scam. We don't belong. I'm not smart enough to understand. No.
I can't see it. I can't hold it.
I can't touch it. No. It's a different way of thinking. And then when I became a futurist within these last 5 years. So I'm looking out now. And when you start looking further out, what happens is that your view actually gets a little narrow because now you go, hey, I can see exactly what's about to happen now. Now, when I trade, for me, if it's not dealing with the future, I really don't want to deal with it. I think crypto is the way. I think crypto is going to be the payment center for young people, which it is now. Just take a look at what we're doing now. We're using my phone, paying for everything. So I'm not going to use no cash, no credit cards. I'm going to use my phone. I'm just tapping away.
I learned that not long ago. You can use your phone. You have to put your credit card.
Just tap.
Really? Put it in there. Now I'm like this.
Tap. That's it.
Here's the thing. A lot of our people are not going to get it. But the thing is, you got it. And it's surrounding yourself with more people like us who we get it. We teach our immediate circle around us, our kids or our immediate circle, because we can't go out and try to save the world, try to save people. If we can, that shit's over. Like that chain of thought of thinking, if we coulda, woulda, shoulda, they destroyed that. It's gone. Now it's all about you finding that select group, your circle. Y'all go get it, and don't worry about nobody else. If they are standing at the shore going, wait, come back for me. No, keep the boat going. You should have heard us out when we was talking about it when we was on the dock. We was on the dock telling you the boat's coming. You ain't want to believe us until we got on the boat. Like they ain't get it. So
no, they didn't. A lot of people are not going to get it. And in the reality, though, it's going to be like Charles Darwin. Only the strongest organisms are going to survive. And it sounds morbid, but it's true, though. We're going through a major shift right now financially, and everything is going to be on the blockchain. So you have to ask yourself, you got a disruption in AI now. You have a major disruption in AI. You have a disruption in the financial system. So you're putting these two worlds together in the next 5 years, and probably shorter than that. The world that we live in is going to look different.
Yep.
What are you going to do as far as work's concerned now that knowledge work, it doesn't cost as much as it used to?
Yeah.
When you have a chat GBT, you have a DeepSeek that has 155 plus IQ that every 6 months it gets smarter. You're not going to beat it.
You know what I read?
Not by the stretch of imagination.
1000%. And I'm going to get us up out of here in a second. I read the other day and I said, you know what? I'm going to do a little segue on my show, on my channel. It's job loss. Because before this administration came in, they reported 3 million jobs will be gone by the year 2030. Now that this new administration is in there, Trump's in the White House, and he's so AI and he's autonomous, they changed that number to 8.9 million jobs will be gone. So I'm dropping the first episode where literally I'm counting up all the jobs that were gone. And just now, since we just started March, over 100,000 jobs are gone already.
It's crazy.
100,000. So every month I got a ticker and I'm going to be letting people know so you can see these numbers are real and your job is at risk. But before we get out of here, my brother, I want to give people some insight. Let them know where they can find you at, man. People want to just check you out on the gram, hear your story, whatever other things you're doing.
Believe it or not, I'm actually not on the gram, man. I'm not on the gram. I'm a really private person, but I am on LinkedIn. And I'm under my name, Eric D. Grimes. You can't miss me. I have a photo up. I have a professional photo up. If you're on there, I actually to do business on LinkedIn, I think is a much more professional platform. I'm on Twitter. Let me get my handle. When I use Twitter just to learn, I don't use it to actually speak to people per se. Like most people go on there.
Plug me with the Twitter, man.
It's a different word. I said, follow me. I'm following the right people. Just follow me. But you can find me at Grimestone. You can find me at Grimestone on Twitter, and that's GRIMESTONE, Grimestone.
All right, I'm gonna put everything on Twitter. Man. So get at people with something that you walked away with from the job, where you're at now, where you see yourself in the future. Give them some words of wisdom and how important it is, man. Where you coming from?
I mentor a lot of young people, variety of different backgrounds, and I always tell people you want to leverage your time, your talent, and your resources. And I said, and the reason why you want to do those things, I said, because one, you need to know quickly what you're good at. You need to have a plan as far as where you want to go. I think for a lot of us, we're running on autonomous vehicles. We're just running autonomously where we're just going to work. We're not engaging in work. When I went to work to learn. And even now, I'm back in the workforce. I'm the director of HR for a security firm. So I have a pulse on the economy as far as hiring people, dealing with human issues of all sorts. And what I see is that people are just checked out. I think more people need to check in and check into yourself, have a plan for yourself, understand that things are not going to always work out. What you're seeing here right now is a 20 plus year maturation here. I went through a lot of ebbs and flows, but I worked on myself. Do you want to work on yourself? And be honest with yourself. Everybody's not going to be Jeff Bezos, man. Everybody's not going to be Elon. Everybody's not going to want to run a multi-billion trillion dollar company. I define success for me. I feel that I'm successful, and I feel that I'm still doing more. It's not too many people could sit here and say that, hey, they retired at 33 years old, despite the challenges that I had. Started a small business. I'm still in one as of right now. Working as director of HR, doing all these different things, speaking at different places. I feel that I'm successful. It's not always the dollar amount. Now, obviously, I'm an investor. I'm a part-time trader. I'm always into the money. But what the money does for you is allows you to be able to get up in the morning and make the decisions that you want to make. When guys are about to retire, I always tell them, I said, listen, it's not to go to buy the Ferrari, man. I said, it's about to look out your window, go, it's snow on the ground. I don't have to go to work today. I said, the two best letters that you can ever exercise is N and the O. And why is that? It's because it's powerful.
And brother, listen, man, I appreciate you. I thank you for your time and sharing your story. And I want to remind everybody, it all starts with believing in yourself and your job. Your job is your first business partner. Your job pays you to invest in yourself. Take that money to go after the things you know you believe and you can do, not just work, just to pay bills. Living proof. And I want to thank my brother for being here on another conversation with friends. And I need y'all never forget to always seek knowledge. Peace.